Whenever you're ready.
All right. So whether we're aware of it or not, America is becoming more dangerous. Incidents like Sandy Hook or other acts of terror on the American public have shown this. What brings about this is fear of guns. This is what we're talking about here. So let's put that on the college campuses. So in 2016, in September, Chrissy Osberg of USA Today reported on the first incidental firing of a weapon at the University of Texas since they instilled their conceal and carry laws. We're just talking about conceal and carry here at Kansas, and so we're going to try to incorporate that with our video system. So the main issue, or the generalized thing that we're talking about, is the conceal and carry, right? The pistol in the pocket, as some would say. So our purpose, the Kansas Protection and Family Care Act allows people to conceal and carry in Kansas. And as of right now, KU is an exemption from that. The campus is an exemption from that law. That will expire July 1st, 2017. So we're talking about a growing fear here on campus from faculty and students alike. We interviewed KU professor Zach Walker, and he said that it's not the guns themselves that he fears, but it's the untrained, maybe unresponsible people carrying them, having the ability to fire them. So what we're going to try to do to fix that through training. We're just going to go and take students in that want to learn, maybe not all students want to, but the students that do want to learn and want to become more comfortable around this is what we offer. And as of right now, the Lawrenceville Police Department does offer a hunter safety course, but that's not exactly the angle that we're trying to get at here, because we're on a college campus and we're not shooting deer or rabbits. We're dealing with humans and the American public, college students. So it's a little bit different and not quite hunter safety. Our goals: we want to remove the general fear, or just the fear of guns themselves. Try to, at least, because let's be honest, you can, have a kid, 15 years old, can be afraid of the dark, right? I'm kind of afraid of the dark. So it's not, it might not be possible to remove every fear from every person, but that's one of the things that we're going to try to do. We want to educate students and faculty alike, because they both express the same type of concerns, issues with this thing that we're talking about, conceal and carry. So we're going to instruct hands-on training, handling, carrying, and maintenance. All things to get you comfortable with a firearm. That's, again, if you want to. It's not a forced thing. You're like, take your gun. It's not what we're going to do. And we're going to talk about proper mindset. I'm not really going to get into that right now, but we're going to get more in depth with that later. It's a pretty important part of what we're going to talk about here with safety on. There we go. So let me introduce our staff. Myself, Jack Arnett, and then we have Dion Lewis, Khalil Milligan, and Chris Wallace. So let's talk about the general fear. 58% of non-gun owning Americans said that they would be uncomfortable having a gun in their home because of fear of an accident. Students have expressed that they would not feel safe with other students that are the same age as them, because maybe they feel like, I'm not comfortable carrying a weapon, so why would the person next to me be comfortable carrying a weapon? So that's just another fear of students here. And then a lot of things can cause fear of weapons. Personal experiences, negative media, maybe where you were raised, how you were raised, all different ways to look at how people fear a gun. Some examples of articles. It's time to ban guns, yes, all of them, by Phoebe Maltzberger. And so Phoebe is actually a mother, and she had a child the same age as the Sandy Hook victims whenever that incident happened. This article came out a few months after, and kind of, it's kind of like a biased thing from a mother's standpoint, which is completely understandable. But in all honesty, banning all guns in the United States of America would take years, decades maybe. Hunters, the NRA, just all of that, police officers even, it would take a lot, it'd take a lot of time. Probably not something that we could look forward to in the near future. And then Michael Denzel Smith wrote, it's not the bad guys, it's the guns, which again is just not a great way to look at the issue that we're talking about today. A gun sitting here on a table with no one touching it can't hurt anyone. but it takes the person holding the gun, pulling the trigger, can. So that's the angle that we're trying to come at here. So how are we going to fix it? Through education. So we're talking about classroom time here. Education of the laws, education of how a gun mechanically works, education on the psychological aspects of it. We're going to have hands-on training. So that's talking about pointing, aiming, and shooting the gun at a target in a firing range. We'll have on-site experts. So we're talking people with many years of experience, former Marines, plenty of people that will answer all your questions, all your needs and concerns. And then we understand that this fear is a wide-scoping thing. You know, you can't categorize the fear into just two separate categories. There are many different reasons, many different ways people can fear and will fear a weapon of such. So we want to try to cover as many things with our practice, a general, wide-scoping practice. So I just talked to you all about our purpose, the goals of Safety On. We talked about general fear and how that affects some people in the situation. I'm now going to hand it off to Chris. He's going to talk about the responsibility.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Cesar Wallace, and I want to talk about the foundational issue with concealed carry on campus. It's a lack of knowledge. Nowadays, there's no previous knowledge or certification required to purchase a firearm. I myself have a small arsenal in my house, and I can tell you it was easier to buy a car than to purchase those weapons. That's just the way it is. Laws aren't perfect. What isn't perfect, we're trying to make it better. We're going to address this by talking about laws, federal laws, state laws, campus policy, and how they'll work together. We don't believe Americans are going to break the law intentionally. It's just from kind of an ignorance, just a lack of knowledge. They don't know any better. There's a story I want to talk to you specifically about, done by Jason Squires. He's an author for Recoil Magazine, and he talks about an incident that happened in Florida. A young patron goes to a movie theater. He's exercising his Second Amendment right of conceal and carry, but he goes into an establishment that has a no weapons allowed sticker. His mindset is thinking, well, hey, you know, federal law, that should supersede what this business sticker is saying. He goes inside, gets his drink, his popcorn, sits down, watches a movie. He looks at his phone, and someone next to him noticed his holster for his concealed carry weapon. The other person makes a complaint. The police get involved. The man is escorted and now has a felony on his record. Now, the man wasn't intended to try to break the law. He just didn't know any better. We want to try to combat that with proper education and training. So we're going to provide clear and concise instruction on all the laws and rules involved and how they all work with each other. Some overlap, some contradict, and we want to make sure we keep this as clear and concise for our students. Right now, the University Candidate Weapon Policy is still in draft form. It's waiting to be signed by Chancellor Gray. Once that's approved, then everything will be laid out. Responsibility. So when you have something that can take a life, there's a great amount of responsibility involved with that. We want to make sure that our students fully understand that, such as complacency. No one starts their car thinking they can kill someone with it. You become comfortable with it, right? So the same thing with the weapon. We want to make sure people aren't being complacent or being overconfident. There's a video I want to show you real quick.
This is a Glock 40. 50 cent, too short, all of them talk about Glock 40. Okay, I'm the only one in this room professional enough that I know of to carry this Glock 40. I'm the only one.
So a DEA police officer is trying to give a class to a bunch of children about gun safety. He was obviously complacent. He's been on weapons for a long time. He teaches it, he uses it, but he grew complacent and he shot himself. We want to try and make sure that doesn't happen with our own students here on campus and our faculty members. A lack of attendance is also an issue. You need to be aware fully of what you're doing, what the weapon is doing, and your relationship to said weapon. There's an issue last year, a Marine, he just got done with recruit training. He was standing post on a gate, and he had all his gear on, radio. He just got off post, and he wasn't paying attention to what was happening to himself and that weapon. It was on fire. He went to go unsling it. The trigger got caught on his radio equipment, and he ended up killing a fellow Marine. He was complacent. and wasn't paying attention. So we want to make sure we're going to harp at all times on safety and paying attention to what you're doing, what the weapon is doing, and your relationship. How do we combat that? We're going to borrow from the Marines. All right, we're going to use a Marine Corps reference publication for pistol marksmanship. This is kind of the Bible of the training that the Marine Corps uses for pistols. We're also going to use the Marine Corps order that outlines the marksmanship program. We're going to use it as our training block. So it's going to be very standardized, very formal, and kind of go through the crawl, walk, run mentality of having a firearm and knowing how to use it. So I'm not going to read this list to you, but by no means is it exhausted. This is just kind of a small wave top of all the topics that are covered in this extensive manual. And then we're going to use the combat marksmanship program. It outlines progressive training blocks, and of course the fire, like I said earlier, is very standardized. It's very easy to have entry-level people grab a weapon and learn how to train and how to use it. Just a side note, the Marine Corps writes everything on a 9th grade reading level. So if you can make it 9th grade, you can understand this training. So, I just talked about what I believe to be the foundational issue of having a firearm on campus is just lack of knowledge and not being responsible with it. Now I'm handing it off to Khalil, and he's going to talk to you about concealing and carrying.
Alright, one of the most things with owning a weapon is responsibility. For instance, in Arizona, a woman was taking her child to Walmart, just going on a little grocery shopping, but she left her unconcealed gun in her purse. Bang, it went off. The child killed his mother. So one of the most important things we want to teach with our training course is responsibility. One of the things that can happen, it can fall into the wrong possession of the person, obviously. Children or younger people who doesn't have no right owning a gun or even handling a firearm. The thing is versus concealed versus unconcealed carry. Concealed carry is where you can have it a holster, or unconcealed is where you can have it hidden. That's really a thing. And one of the most important things is having the safety on and off. You have to learn how to hold the safety on and off, and also loading and unloading the firearm. That is one of the main things, like leaving one in the chamber, not leaving one in the chamber, that can prevent leaving an innocent life. Also, you have to store and clean the gun, and also it can kill or even injure a person. Since 1999, there have been an increase in accidental deaths. 75% of suicides come from a person not properly storing a firearm. An estimate of over 500,000 guns have went missing over time. You really don't want your gun to go missing because it could really fall into the wrong possession. So what we would do, we would train the class, we would teach you how to handle, properly secure, how to properly store and clean your gun, and turn the safety on. We would also like to educate the child access prevention. So if your gun falls into the wrong possession, you can be held accountable for not paying attention to your firearm. So we would like to teach responsibility in our training course. Now we'll pass it to Dion.
All right, thank you. All right, this part of our program is called Escalation of Force. The story I have is there's an altercation in a gentleman's club. Allegedly, one man was recording another man, don't know why, in a gentleman's club, but that's what he was doing, and the other guy did not like it. So a scuffle broke out, and one of the men had a firearm, pulled the gun out and shot him in his arm. Now, the altercation went way past that because the other guy got shot did not have a proper mindset, which what I will speak on after this slide. He tried to scuffle the gun out of his hands, ended up being shot in the thigh and hip, so he got shot 2 more times. So what we have the problem here is lack of control of the situation. In our program, we want to send people out that have the knowledge of understanding when there is an altercation rising and what to do and what not to do. Bad judgment when to use a gun. Obviously, 2 men scuffling. I feel like, you know, there's no need for a gun to come out. Obviously, that guy did not want to lose that fight, so he felt the need to shoot him. Bad judgment. And not understanding the power that people have when they hold a firearm. You have the ability to take someone's life or permanently injure. And we really want to stress that with this gun, you have great responsibility and power. our solution with this is we're going to borrow from John Boyd, a military strategist, what they call the OODA, correct? So basically it's observe, orientation, decision, and action. You want to observe all aspects of the situation, be aware of the surroundings, aware of your actions, aware of their actions, and aware of how this altercation is escalating. Orientation, basically that's just a more analytical point to take from observe. So we want to really analyze the information we just took from our observation. And we decide what's the best course of action to be. Do I stand down? Do I walk away? Do I fight? You know, just really want to make sure that you make the right decision and then act upon that decision. And you need to act quickly. You need to act just as quick as you thought about your decision. Okay, so now we have another problem with the proper mindset, which is not knowing what to do during an altercation. Just like that guy with the fight at the Gentleman's Club. He thought he could scuffle a gun out, ended up getting shot twice. That's not the proper mindset. Acting out on rational thoughts, not putting much thought into their actions. Again, perfect example. While we try to wrestle a gun out of a man's hand, he just shot you once, now he got shot 2 more times. We want to make sure we minimize those kind of thoughts and irrational actions. Another thing with not having a proper mindset is not knowing all the facts about altercation. And we'll make sure that we set out things in our program to make sure that when you go into altercation or when the altercation has peaked, before you make your decision and your act, that you know what everything is going on. Very important. Do not try to be a hero. We are not setting up this program for people to become heroes and walk around on KCTV talking about, yeah, I just saved the whole college campus. We don't want that. We want to make sure that we send people out that know what to do and what not to do, and not trying to be Superman or Superwoman. So, how we're going to attack that is we will have classroom activities and discussions on real life scenarios. So that means we'll have a class discussion, we'll set out scenario, either do groups or as a whole. We're going to give you all a paper or whatever, how we set it up. We're going to give you scenarios on real life things that we possibly made up that can be very real life, or actual real life things that have happened, and if there could have been a better decision. Guided discussions. Everybody will have the chance to ask questions on these real life scenarios. People have, oh, what should I have done in this? What could have been done? And we're going to answer all those questions. The ideal goal is for, again, not for our students to become heroes. You can become a hero by not doing anything. Because what if you do something, you don't have the proper training and you end up killing someone else that did not need to be shot at, and then you end up being shot because now the authorities are here and they think you're the shooter. So sometimes being a hero is not doing something. What questions to ask, and then that's when we'll talk about the best course of action. We want to make sure you all choose the best course of action. I'm going to pass it along to Khalil to tell you about the training evolution.
All right, so
go about this.
This is our game plan for our training course. So phase 1 will be classroom instructions, and phase 2 will be marksmanship. Phase 3 will be scenario training. So we will give like scenarios of like if a scenario would happen in class, on campus, or in the gym, or in a main event. Safety paramount at all times. So phase 1 will include like laws, policies, weapons, safety, responsibility, escalation of force, and the mindset. Phase 2 will be marksmanship and manipulation, like concealing, and marksmanship proficiency. So like we will have like training where you can aim at a target and go to the gun range and take a little training on hands course. Phase 3 will be scenario training, like what to do in a specific situation, like in the classroom, auditorium, theater, restricted environment, or open environment. So this is like the confidence builder. Like you would actually do hands-on training, like with scenarios. You would have people come in and act and really show you a different scene, and just really act out the scene and what you would do in the situation. And you would get a certificate of completion once you completed the program. to let you know that you completed the program. So this is the funds. So we had a pledge of sponsors. Jonathan Egan, he's the owner of Chambers. Chambers is a store in Wisconsin. He's the store owner, and he's the prior Marine and Sergeant. He has 10 plus years of experience. Also, so what are we asking for? So we're doing a firearm training, so obviously we would need firearms. Right here is we would need 14 M9 Berettas. It's easy to hold. You can maintain control. Small caliber, easy to operate, so it would be easy for just learning your first time using a gun. Alright, we would need 7 XD 9mm. It's compact and ideal for concealment. So we would teach how to conceal it, how to pull it out and fire at the same time. And then we would need 7 XD 45s. It's ideal for concealing, large compatibility, and also it has a laser. Most guns come with a laser. You can practice with the laser, or it's easy to aim. Weapons and holsters. We need a lot of holsters to show how to conceal your gun properly and safely, and show how to unconceal the gun too. So we need ammunition and 25 boxes of ammo. So we need a lot of ammo to practice the on-site training. So we also need targets, safety equipment like headphones, eye gear, earplugs, and also cleaning equipment to show you how to properly clean your weapon. Gear and equipment will cost equivalent around $4,950. So the total startup cost we would need for this organization would be $21,260. We would have $4,740 left over just in case we have an overflow of the class, or if we need to purchase any more material we would need for anything in the class. And now I will pass it to Dion to summarize it up.
Okay. First off, I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to our nonprofit organization proposal. We all think this is me and my staff think this is a very, very important program that we should implement on this campus, especially regarding what's going to happen June 1st. And I feel that a lot of people have this overwhelming fear or uneasiness about this. So we want to make sure we attack that head on. Again, we want to make sure that we stress we are not trying to create heroes. We'll let the media paint them as heroes. We just want to provide the cape and suits. This is our proposal. We all ask that you all strongly consider investing in us. And remember, always keep the safety on.
Any questions for this group? We have some questions.
Have you ever had like a incident that someone's complacent in your years of Marines?
I've seen a lot of instances where something could have happened, but because others around them were aware, they stopped it before it potentially got worse. Like we're on the firing line. You know, a young junior Marine, he's still learning. He's only been in 6 months. He doesn't know everything. So he's on the firing line. We're like, hey, you need to put that in safe. Oh, yeah, right. Stuff like that, but I've never actually seen friendly fire.
Any other questions?
Now, in the situation where, you know, an antagonist is in the room and he's got his gun pulled, are you condoning the hero in all technicality for somebody to actually stand up and defend that has been trained, or?
That's all about assessing the situation
Yeah,
itself. That's not something that can just be like brought up and said in a sentence like that, and we can give you the correct answer, because that's what we're talking about here, having the proper mindset. We're going to try to train people to be able to think about that kind of thing, because it's going to happen as fast as you're thinking about it.
Sure.
So it's all about assessing the situation and finding out the proper way to handle it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you guys.